Hey everybody, and thanks for joining me today. I wanted to try out the new premiere function that YouTube has offered and kind of get a feel of how it works. So that's the primary reason for making this video right here. Today I'm going to be fixing chicken fajitas. It's not going to be anything fancy. It's just basically chicken and vegetables and stir fry that up. And I'm even using a packaged fajita seasoning mix. But I thought I'd offer a few tips and just make a quick video to try out the premiere function of YouTube and see how it works. So let's go ahead and get started real quick. So my advice for when you go to make chicken fajitas is do all your prep work ahead. Have all your ingredients ready to go, because once you put this on the burner, it's going to cook real fast. And if you don't have everything already prepared ahead of time, then it's going to hinder you on just quickly making your chicken fajitas. You're going to have to stop and dice this up, cut that up, or something like that. Whereas if you've already got everything prepped, it's just a matter of standing there and stir frying it until it's done, and that's it. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut up these chicken breasts. I'm not sure if I'll use one or two, but I'm just going to cut these into real small strips. Now, the reason why I cut up these the chicken breast up into little thin strips, is seems like it fries up better for fajitas, and you're guaranteed to have a tender bite of chicken when you go to eat these. Whereas if they're in bigger chunks, it takes a little bit more effort to chew, and sometimes, I don't know, they're a little bit more tougher, I think. Whereas if you just cut them in little thin strips, I think they're more tender. So I go down and I just cut lengthwise and then go back over what I've already cut and make smaller slices. And if you got any gross pieces, you could cut those out. Okay, so see how thin that is? That's how I like the chicken strips to be cut. And if you have little odds and ends like that, that's no big deal. So as you can see, just those two little chicken breasts, which they were on the smaller side, once you get it cut up, it makes quite a bit of chicken to make stir fry out of. So I think I'm just going to stop right here, because I'm not sure if anybody else is going to eat this after a while. And just fix enough for 1 or 2 people. Because the way it's been going lately, everybody's been coming in at different hours. Sometimes it gets 8. Sometimes it don't. Goes in the fridge. Sometimes they get it out and eat it. And sometimes not. And then it goes to waste. So I don't like doing that. So if need be, this is easy enough to fix more if I need it when the rest of them get home at different times. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop and use those 2 right there. And I'm going to clean up my chicken mass, put this in the sink, and give it a good bleaching after a while. And I'm going to put this other chicken breast up in the fridge so that it stays good and cold until I'm ready to use it later. Okay, now for my next step, I have some of these little miniature sweet peppers I'm going to cut up. I have a little bit of the cherry tomatoes in the bottom there. And then I have onion that I'm going to cut up. So I'm just going to get those sliced up real quick and put them into the bowl and set them aside. Now, when I go to slice up my vegetables, I don't slice this into real thin slices like this. It's better to slice into thicker slices like this. And even if you have a thick slice like that, don't worry about it. I may go down through this one like that. But the reason why you don't want your vegetables sliced too thin is because they will fry up real quick and they'll get soggy real quick. Whereas if you keep them on the thicker side, it gives you a little bit more room to stir fry without them getting too tender and soggy. Because to me, for my chicken fajitas, I like a little bit of crunch still left in my stir-fry vegetables. So that's why I cut mine a little bit thicker. Okay, I'm going to cut up my tomatoes next. And I'm just going to cut those into little halves. And then I'm going to cut up my peppers. And I'm going to take the little cores out. And it doesn't matter about getting all the little seeds out. I have my vegetables cut up and set to the side, so they're all ready to go. My next step is I'm going to be using a wok to stir fry all this together, and I'm going to be using my little butane burner. Now, I've never used my wok on it yet, but the temperature that I want to achieve will be like a medium-high heat. It may take me a little bit to find the right temperature point since I've never used the butane burner before with the wok. But from there, you're just stir frying everything, and it goes real fast, and before you know it, it's done. So let me get my wok, and we'll get this started. So get my little burner started. So I'm just going to let that heat up real quick. Get my seasoning packet open. And it doesn't take long for these woks to fire up at all and get hot. So that's getting hot already. So what I'm going to do now, let me see if I can find me a little glove to handle that chicken. I love these little gloves just for handling chicken. They're so handy to have. Okay, you can see the smoke coming up, so I'm going to lower my temperature just a little bit on that because I don't want it to get too hot. So I'm going to add me a little bit of, this is just canola oil. And then I'm going to put my chicken in there. So I'm going to try a piece real quick. Yeah, that's hot. Now this is going to fry real fast. Now when I put my seasoning on my chicken, I don't add that whole packet because it's pretty overpowering. I like to just lightly season my chicken with the fajita mix, and it actually gives it a better flavor and gives it a little bit of a grilled flavor, I think. So I'm just going to lightly sprinkle that in on the chicken. And give it another stir. Add a little bit more mix. That's probably all the mix I'll use. And from there, I just fold over the top of what I have left of my seasoning. And I put me a little clothespin on there. And I just put it up, and then I have more for the next time. So I'm just going to continue to stir this and fry it until the chicken is completely cooked through. And I am going to add a little bit of salt to this, because where I didn't use all that seasoning packet, there won't be as much salt on it. So it still needs to be seasoned with a little bit of salt. Okay. Okay. So about 3 or 4 minutes, and your chicken's going to be done, because your strips are cut so thin that it doesn't take it long at all. So what I'm going to do right now is use these tongs and remove the chicken, because I want all those juices that's left in there to stay in the wok, and that's what we're going to stir fry the vegetables in. Now this wok did not cost an arm and a leg. I got this at Walmart. It's just that real cheap mainstay brand. I think it was $5 or $6. Now they have them there more expensive, but you don't need it, because these work just fine. Now I'm going to toss my vegetables in. It's getting a little smoky. I usually do this on the stove with my stove vent, but it'll be okay. Now I'm going to cook these not until they're completely soft, just until they're slightly tender, where they're easy to still bite into, but still have a little bit of a crunch. So I'm going to season that with salt and pepper too. Now, if your vegetables start cooking down a little bit dry, usually just a little bit more oil to that. Because you don't want your vegetables to burn up. You see how those are starting to get a nice char on them, but they're not burning up? That's the ideal that you're going for. I'm going to add a little bit more salt, a little bit more pepper. And while that's continuing to fry, I'm going to put saran wrap over my chicken over here. And that will help keep that moisture in and keep the chicken from drying out and help hold the heat in a little bit. Now when your onion starts looking a little bit translucent but still has a little bit of the white left, that's a good gauge on when your vegetables are done. And they're pretty well to that point now. I may let them go for another minute. So I'm going to remove them to a dish here in a minute. Okay, that looks done. I'm going to turn off my burner. And I'm going to take these and place them in a bowl and cover them with saran wrap just like I did the chicken. And another thing about your wok, if you use one or decide to try to get one, is let it cool completely before you attempt to wash it. Mine is sort of like a non-stick, so I wouldn't want to use anything abrasive to clean it because that would hurt the finish of the wok. That's why I'm using these rubber utensils here so that it won't scratch the bottom. Now the way your wok works, as it heats, that bottom will expand and it creates actually a wider and flatter bottom. Then as it cools, it goes back to its normal shape, like when you bought it in the store. And that's how your wok works. And if you go throw cold water or something in it to rinse it out, you're going to hurt the integrity of the metal. And, it will shorten the life of your wok. So if you take good care of your wok, it'll last you for a very long time. This was a $6 cheap Mainstays brand wok. And you see how good it done. Now I went and bought one of those, what is it, like Copper Chef or I don't know, whatever brand. It's like the orange lining. And I paid about $20 for it at a wholesale outlet place, whatever. And I paid about $20 for it. And I thought, oh, I bet that'll be a dandy wok. I don't know, it just caught my eye. And I thought, well, I'm going to try that. Which it is. But the thing of it is, where it's got that non-stick surface, you don't get a good char on your vegetables and your meat. So I like the cheap one better because you kind of get that caramelization on them vegetables and stuff. And that's where a lot of your flavor is. So I prefer the cheap one over the expensive one. The other one, it just like it cooked it. It didn't really stir fry it real quick. So I had given my old wok to my sons when they moved to their home. And after I bought that new one, I was like, I want my old one back. So I just went back to Walmart the other day and got me another cheap $6 wok. So my next step is really just fixing my plate. Now my kids, they like to take the chicken and vegetables and put them in a flour tortilla with maybe some taco sauce or something like that for that's how they like to eat theirs. Me, I like to have the chicken on my plate with just a little salad on the side. That way I'm not getting all those extra carbs. And it just makes me feel like it's a little healthier way of eating it. So I have a little bit of this queso cheese. I'm just going to pop that in the microwave real quick. And that's what I'm going to drizzle over my chicken. So let me get that fixed real quick and I'll put my plate together. Okay, let's try this out. Perfect. Delicious. So I'm going to wrap up this video real quick. I thank you all for joining me. I'm not sure if once the video ends, if the premiere ends, or once the video ends, if you could continue to chat. I guess we'll find that out here in a minute. Thank you all for joining me.